Welcome to Sex Positive Gaming. I'm Annie, and today I want to talk about UuultraC. Well, actually I'm going to talk about Bram Stoker's Dracula, the idea of monstrous desire, and UuultraC, available for PC on Steam. So this is going to be one of those longer videos, and even if you don't particularly enjoy the flavors of this yaoi visual novel, I think we can all empathize with the fear that other people find our sexual desires and appetites monstrous. I mean, isn't that at the heart of sexual shaming? On its surface, UuultraC is a pretty straightforward multiple route mystery style visual novel. The game is broken up into 3 chapters, and you will play as multiple male protagonists as you discover and complete the different endings. UuultraC's plot revolves around a viral outbreak that turns people into kaiju, big Japanese monsters like you see in Voltron or the Power Rangers. People turn into these monsters when they become excited, and the virus is spread by blood and other fluids. At this point, I'm like, a homoerotic tale of uncontrollable monstrous desires that spread like an STI? This is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, before you accuse me of being some kind of woke revisionist who is reinterpreting history as a part of the gay agenda, people have been saying that Dracula is an exploration of homoeroticism and monstrous desire for longer than any of us have been alive. I'm not even going to go into the whole unusual, for the time, relationship between Bram Stoker, their wife, Florence Balcom, and Oscar Wilde. Needless to say, the idea of uncontrollable forbidden desire making us a monster in the eyes of society is not a new idea. But I think it can be a very healthy way to explore our own desires, how we see ourselves, and how we fear how society will see us if they knew the extent of those desires. Yes, it is way safer to be open about sexual orientation now than it was in 1895, when Oscar Wilde was imprisoned for sodomy, but being gay is still illegal in most of the world. Hell, here in the US, there was a growing movement to classify talking about non-heteronormative sexuality as a form of grooming children, missing the reality that the very social systems we live in are already technically grooming children in exactly the same way. Just from a very strict form of neo-puritanical sexual homogeny that drives almost every child to grow up ashamed of their own desires and sexual identity in one way or another. Things are better, but we all have a long way to go and there are no easy answers. So even if you all aren't going to play UuultraC, and from the data YouTube provides me when I cover yaoi or yuri games, most of you won't, this is a fantastic modern exploration of monstrous desire and the isolation, discrimination, and despair that sadly seems to come with it. And while I suspect UuultraC won't make kaiju sexy like Bram Stoker managed to do with vampires, this is still a surprisingly rich and entertaining game. Graphically, the art style is really striking. The game is set in the 1970s Showa-era Japan, when kaiju movies and shows were a ubiquitous part of Japanese culture. This is absolutely of this time period. I mean, come on, you fight giant monsters with wrestling moves. The character design really reminds me of the original Final Fantasy tactics, and I really enjoyed the soundtrack's mixture of funky jazz, slow piano, and techno. All of the main characters are voiced, and there are ambient sounds throughout the game. The sexual interactions are made up of static images without animation, but there is sound. Flavor-wise, this is a male homosexual game with multiple playable protagonists. There are also superpowers, monsters, BDSM, violence, and power exchange. The different characters that you play and the choices you make will impact the flavors that you can experience. But just like Dracula, this is a darker exploration of the frailty of the human soul. This is one of the better titles that I've played this year. I really like the overall use of different perspectives throughout the whole story. It lets you see and connect with other characters and understand their actions from their point of view in a way that usually tends to fall flat in many other visual novels. While the story was really intriguing, I did get lost sometimes and I really would have liked the narrator to come back to help explain things as they did in the beginning. I'm not sure if that was a cultural gap or more of a result of my zoomer attention span. Either way, I could have used a little more narrative help in the later parts of the game. Like I said earlier, this is one of the better titles that I've played this year. Sadly, a lot of people are going to miss out because of flavor and compatibility. I mean, I totally get it, but it is too bad. But if you do enjoy yaoi visual novels, I strongly recommend jumping into the ring to fight and romance the kaiju of UuultraC. Let me know what you think of UuultraC, and if you have any questions about the history and nature of monstrous desire, please feel free to ask. As always, all of the links to the game will be on my Patreon page, as well as the links to any citations that I brought up. The point of this channel is to talk specifically about touchier subjects like this, and I want all of you to feel comfortable agreeing or disagreeing with me. Regardless of our politics, everyone in this community has way more in common with each other than we do with the assholes in charge who try to rule us with fear, hatred, and shame. Until next time, no shaming, just gaming. Thanks so much to all of my Patreon supporters, and a special thanks to this month's Best Girl tier of Apple Orange, Bob Sellers, X of Ron, Lockhart, Trude Perkins, and Tyler Hunter. Everyone who helps with the channel is awesome, but you all really rock. Thank you so much. Seriously though, it amazes me that more people don't know this about Bram Stoker and Dracula. I mean, this is from a letter Bram sent to Walt Whitman. How sweet a thing it is for a strong, healthy man with a woman's eye and a child's wishes to feel that he can speak to a man who can be, if he wishes, father and brother and wife to his soul. My heart goes out to Bram and anyone else who has felt alone or isolated by their desire. Hopefully, we will all continue to have healthier and safer outlets for our sexuality in the future. For me, that is the goal and promise of no shaming, just gaming.